right? Are we commanded to keep the entire law? The Bible, right? So I am your host with the most, man, King Hebrew, man. Welcome to King Hebrew Reports. I am your host with the most, King Hebrew. Now, this is a question that has always been within the ministry, within certain camps, right? Not really for us, but this is like the main question that a lot of people ask us, whether it's atheists, certain people that just have general questions. This is the main question people ask us. Are we commanded to keep the entire law? Now, the Bible does not command every individual to keep every single commandment in the law in the same way. Scripture clearly shows that the law contains commandments given by role, condition, gender, office, and circumstance. Commandments given by role and condition. Commandments for women. Certain laws apply only to women, such as commandments concerning menstruation, childbirth, and motherhood, right? Leviticus 12 and Leviticus 15. Men are not commanded to keep these laws because they were never given to them, right? Commandments for farming and land ownership. Many commandments apply only to those who farm the land or own fields, such as leaving the corners of the field for the poor. Land rest, agricultural laws, Leviticus 19, verse 9 on down, and Deuteronomy chapter 15. If a person does not own farm or land, these commandments do not apply. Commandments for kings and leaders. Scripture gives specific laws for kings concerning governance and leadership. Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 14. These commandments do not apply to the common people, right? Because the Most High, again, certain roles, you got kings, you got leaders, officers, captains, right? People were given different roles. People were given different roles and offices. You got senators, you got Republicans, you got governors, you got presidents, right? Different offices. So let's get Deuteronomy 17 real quick. Deuteronomy 17. Now, this is how King David fell off, right? As a king, you are not allowed to have multiple wives. And there's a reason why the Most High made this a commandment. Because look at what happened to King David, right? 1 turns into 5, 5 turns into 20, 20 turns into 50, right? When you are a man of renown, when you have money and power, there's no limit to the amount of women you can have because you have the riches, you have the gold, right? You have that position of authority. So Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses, for as much as the Lord has said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no way. Ye shall henceforth return no more that way. Verse 17. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply himself silver and gold. Now, we know if you're going to have multiple wives, don't follow their guys. If you're gonna have multiple wives, don't go like King Solomon did, right? In 1 Samuel 11. I'm gonna get this real quick. Then we're gonna go into farming and land ownership. What's that? Leviticus 19 and Deuteronomy 15. If you don't have no farm, if you ain't got no land, these commandments do not apply to your ass. Simple. Now, First Kings. Now, this is where King Solomon went wrong, right? First Kings 11. As smart as he was, simple as hell. So we read this right in we read this in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 17. A king shall not multiply wives to himself. Now, First Kings 11 and 4. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned his heart away after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon, verse 5, for Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonites, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Verse 6, and Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Now, verse 9, and the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord, God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. So even though King Solomon is going after these other gods, right? The Most High God still appeared. He tried to give King Solomon a second chance. It said he appeared to him twice. Verse 10, and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods, but he kept not that which the Lord commanded. So the Most High God, he appeared to Solomon twice, try to give him a second chance. He didn't listen. So, but if you're a king, if you're not a king, this does not apply to you. Now, Leviticus 19, land and ownership. For those who have land, for those who have a farm, you understand? If you have oxen, you have cows. What's that? Leviticus 19. Oh, man, my Bible's ripped up, man. I got an ancient Bible, but this Bible been through hell. All right. And also in Leviticus 25, if you have servants, right? If a Hebrew Israelite, if your fellow brother is so poor, he could sell himself to you until the year of Jubilee. Madness. What? All right, so Leviticus 12 and 15, these are laws, these are commandments for women, right? In the menstruation, childbirth, and motherhood. Many commandments apply only to those who farm the land or own fields. Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12. And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or a Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. Verse 13, and when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Verse 14, thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, out of thy floor, out of the winepress, of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto him. Now, do you have to take in your brother? No, you don't have to. If you choose to, if you're in the financial position to take a brother or sister in who cannot financially take care of themselves, you know what I'm saying? Does this apply to everybody? No. It applies to certain people. And actually, if you have somebody back then, like how they do cows, where they get something, it's like they put like it's like an iron. And if you have a slave that actually decides to stay with you forever, you could stamp them. I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up real quick. It's like an iron that they put on cows. Oh my stamp cows with iron. Stamping cows with a hot iron, known as hot iron branding. Now, let's get this in the Bible. Hold on. It should be in Deuteronomy. Now, if you have a Hebrew servant, not a slave, but a servant, if he chooses to stay with you, you could get a hot iron, right? And you could brand him. Hold on. Stamp cows. Stamp servant. All right, Exodus 21 and 16. We'll read it in the NIV or the NLT. Now, also, if your servant has, let's say you take in a servant, right, and he has children, those are actually considered your children. If he has children within your household, if you take him in as a servant, and if he has a wife and they have children, they're actually considered your children because they had children in your house. Now, hold on. Oh, verse 6. Okay. All right, it's the book of Exodus, chapter 21, and verse NLT. Let's see if the book of Exodus, chapter 21, verse 1. These are the regulations you must present to Israel. Verse 2. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he may serve for no more than 6 years. Set him free in the 7th year, right? The year of Jubilee. Set him free in the 7th year, and he will owe you nothing for his freedom. If he was single when he became your slave, he shall leave single. But if he was married before he became a slave, then his wife must be freed with him. If his master gave him a wife, while he was a slave, and they had sons or daughters, then only the man will be free in the 7th year, but his wife and children will still belong to the master. Verse 5. But the slave may declare, I love you, slack you. But the slave may declare, I love my master, my wife, and my children. I don't want to go free. Verse 6. If he does this, his master must present him before God. Then his master must take him to the door or doorpost and publicly pierce his ear with an awl. After that, the slave will serve his master for life. Pierce. Now let's Google, right? Pierce, hold on. In all. Let me look up in all. Strong's H 4836. Oh, let's get down. A boring instrument. Born in all. In all. Nope. Nope. Oh, typically, in all typically refers to a pointed hand tool. Let me go on images. Piercing holes in materials like leather or wood. It sounds like it hurt. You gotta pierce that in somebody's ear, fool? Ain't no anesthesia. Not back then. Shit. They had no anesthesia back then. Now that's if he chose to stay. Yes, I would recommend if I was a slave, I would have waited. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna wait my 7 years, then get married. Cause that's just too much. And you gotta be down bad for this shit right here. All right, let's go back. You know, I mean, hey, to each his own. You had certain people, they'd be like, hey man, dude gave me my own house, dude gave me a whole family. I want to stay with him. You know what I'm saying? Cool. But you got certain men that would rather have their own wife, own family, have their own house, and provide for their own. You know, certain people are different. But this was an option. So these commandments don't apply to everybody. These commandments only apply to those. Again, these commandments are optional for certain people. So again, you had the commandments for the priests and Levites, right? Sacrificial duties, temple service, priestly garments were commanded only to the sons of Levi. These commandments were never given to the rest of Israel, right? That's also right. The Levitical priesthood, you had certain garments. You had the ephod. Everybody can't wear the ephod. That's only for the priest, but it's a commandment only for them. What's that? Uh, let's get the corn. The corn, the commandment. You got spiritual gifts. The Most High God, He may give you land. He might give you, um, I had a woman I had a English teacher. She didn't have no kids, right? She was in her 50s. Very nice lady. Never had kids, not one child. Very nice lady. Now Leviticus 15 doesn't apply to her because she never had kids, even though she could have. Those commandments never apply to her because she never had children. Now, hold on. Corn. I gotta get the corn. It's that Leviticus. It's that Leviticus 19. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 13. We're gonna get this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that all these that to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 13. And he will love thee and bless thee and multiply thee, and will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he shall swear unto thy fathers to give thee. Now, certain men will not have children. Certain women won't have children. You won't be given land. What comes with land? Corn, wine, and oil. You got vineyards, oil. It depends. Now, Leviticus 19, real quick. Mm. Leviticus 19:9. And when ye reap, I do in the NLT. Leviticus 19:9. When you harvest the crops of your land, do not harvest along the edges of your fields, and do not pick up what the harvesters drop. It is the same with your grape crop. Do not strip every last bunch of grapes from the vines, and do not pick up the grapes that fall to the ground. Leave them for the poor and the foreigners living among you. I am the Lord your God. Now, so do not strip every last bunch of grape, right? So just leave some, right? Take in what you can and leave the rest for the hungry. Now, this is if you have land. If you don't, this law does not pertain to you. It's only for those who have land. Some people are given land through inheritance. We read that also in Jeremiah. Jeremiah bought land. So if you go to the book of Ruth, right, those brothers had to get land through Ruth because Ruth married one of their brothers that passed away. So they had to buy the land and also take her in too as their wife to raise up their brother's seed, which is also in the law. Uh, so Leviticus 19, verse 9 through 10 is only if you have land. Now let's get Ruth. We'll get Ruth, the second chapter. It's the book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 1. Now there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz. An influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. One day, Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go out into the harvest fields to pick up the stalks of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it. Now, let's go back to Leviticus 19. This is why in the law it says to leave, right? Taking what you can and leave some for the hungry. That's what Ruth was trying to do. She said, now this field didn't belong to her, but she said, let me go out and pick up the stalks of grain left behind by anyone who was kind enough to let me do it. Naomi replied, all right, my daughter, go ahead. Verse 3. So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters. And as it happened, she found herself working in a field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Elimelech. Verse 4. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you, he said. The Lord bless you. The harvesters replied. Then Boaz asked the foreman, who was that young woman over there? Who does she belong to? Verse 6. And the foreman replied, she is the young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. Let's get to the point. Verse 11. I'm going to just get to the point. The book of Ruth, chapter 2, verse 11. Yes, I know, Boaz replied, but I also know about everything you have done for your mother in law. Since the death of your husband, I have, I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. Verse 12. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not one of your workers. Hold on. Let's get Ruth chapter 4, verse 3. I'm trying to get to the point. Ruth. Four. Let me get to the point. It's the book of Ruth, chapter 4, verse 3. And Boaz said to the family redeemer, you know Naomi, who came back from Moab. She is selling the land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should speak to you about it so that you could redeem it if you wish. If you want the land, then buy it here in the presence of these witnesses. But if you don't want it, let me know right away, because I am next in line to redeem it after you. The man replied, all right, I'll redeem it. Verse 5. Then Boaz told him, of course, your purchase of the land from Naomi also requires that you marry Ruth, the Moabite widow. That way she can have children who will carry on her husband's name and keep the land in the family. Verse 6. Then I can't redeem it. The family redeemer replied, because this might endanger my own estate. You redeem the land, I cannot do it. Verse 7. Now, in those days, it was the custom in Israel for anyone transferring a right of purchase to remove his sandal and hand it to the other party. This publicly validated the transaction. Verse 8. So the other family redeemer drew off his sandal as he said to Boaz, you buy the land. Verse 9. Then Boaz said to the elders and to the crowd standing around, you are witnesses that today I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. Because remember, these are their brothers. Now, Naomi was, not Naomi, the other, because she had a sister. So these two Moabites, they had two husbands. Both of them died. They both died. I think it was Mahlon. Like he said, it was Elimelech. Elimelech died, and Mahlon died. So the two sisters had two husbands, and they both died. So their brothers are trying to take the land back to keep it within the family. So hold on, it's hold on. It's the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verse 1, or verse 2. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his two sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites and Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. She was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. So she lost her husband and her 2 sons. So now her brothers are trying to step in. Was that Ruth?